They came from the stars, offering Earth their protection against threats we'd never even heard of. A mysterious alien collective promising safety from the dangers lurking in the void of space. It sounded too good to be true, and for good reason. What would happen when humanity, the most curious species in the galaxy, asked the one question the Valdorians never expected? From who? What started as a generous offer quickly unraveled into a high-stakes game of cosmic deception. With the future of Earth hanging in the balance, one diplomat, one scientist, and a crew of skeptics would uncover a chilling truth. The greatest danger we faced wasn't from the stars, but from those who claimed they could protect us. This is the story of how Earth, the last species anyone thought could defend itself, turned the tables on a galaxy's worth of would-be scammers. The generous offer Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Luna station, watching the massive alien vessel approach through the viewport. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever seen, a crystalline structure that seemed to bend light around its edges, pulsing with soft blue energy. After 3 days of long-range communications, this was humanity's first face-to-face meeting with an alien civilization. "Contact in 15 minutes, Captain," announced Lieutenant Sarah Walsh from the communications console behind her. "The Valdorian delegation is requesting permission to board." Elena nodded, smoothing down her dress uniform. As Earth's chief diplomatic representative, she carried the hopes and fears of an entire planet on her shoulders. First contact protocols had been theoretical until now pages of procedures written by committee, debated in council chambers, but never tested against the reality of actual alien contact. "Dr. Chen, are you ready?" Elena asked, turning to the man beside her. Dr. James Chen, Earth's leading xenobiologist and linguist, had spent the last 72 hours analyzing every piece of data the Valdorians had shared during their initial communications. "As ready as anyone can be for something like this," James replied, adjusting his tablet computer. "Their translation matrix is remarkably sophisticated. Almost too sophisticated for a first contact scenario, if I'm being honest." Elena raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Most theoretical models suggest that translation between completely alien languages would take weeks or months to perfect. These Valdorians had us speaking clearly within hours. Either they're incredibly advanced, or—" He paused, shaking his head. "Sorry, Captain. I'm probably overthinking things. First contact nerves." The docking bay shuddered slightly as the alien shuttle made contact. Elena watched through the security monitors as the airlock cycled, revealing 3 tall, elegant beings who moved with fluid grace. The Valdorians appeared humanoid, but distinctly alien pale silver skin that seemed to shimmer, elongated limbs, and large dark eyes that held an ancient intelligence. "Welcome aboard Luna Station," Elena said as the alien delegation entered the meeting chamber. She had practiced this greeting 100 times, but actually saying it to real aliens felt surreal. The lead Valdorian stepped forward, his movements creating small prismatic light effects in the air around him. "Greetings, Captain Rodriguez. I am High Merchant Techstar of the Valdorian Trade Collective. These are my associates, Merchant Velinara and Technical Specialist Quindal." His voice was musical, almost hypnotic, with harmonics that seemed to resonate in Elena's chest. The translation device rendered his words in perfect English, but she could hear the underlying alien tones beneath. "Please be seated," Elena gestured to the specially prepared chairs. "We're honored by your visit. Your initial communications mentioned that you had important information about our galaxy." Kekstar settled into his chair with that same fluid grace. "Indeed, Captain. We have traveled far to reach your world because we believe your species faces grave danger. The Valdorian Trade Collective has encountered many young civilizations like yours, and we have learned to recognize certain patterns." Dr. Chun leaned forward, his scientific curiosity engaged. "What kind of patterns?" Merchant Velinara activated a small device that projected a 3-dimensional hologram into the center of the room. The image showed a star map with pulsing red markers scattered throughout a section of the galaxy. These markers represent the locations of extinct civilizations, she explained, her voice carrying a note of sadness. Species that achieved spaceflight began expanding beyond their home worlds, and then ... vanished. Elena studied the hologram carefully. The red markers formed rough clusters, as if whatever had destroyed these civilizations moved in waves across the galaxy. What happened to them? They encountered the Devourers, Kekstar said, his large eyes reflecting the holographic light. Ancient beings of pure hunger that consume not just matter, but the very essence of life itself. They sleep for centuries, in the void between stars, then awaken to feed. When they find a young civilization like yours, they strip entire worlds bare. The hologram shifted, showing what appeared to be security footage from some kind of space station. Dark, writhing shapes moved across the screen, things that hurt to look at directly, as if they existed partially outside normal space. Elena watched in fascination and growing horror as these creatures descended upon a blue-green world, leaving nothing but a barren rock in their wake. This is the fate of the Crinari. Technical specialist Quindal spoke for the first time, his voice carrying electronic undertones. A peaceful species, much like yours. They had just achieved faster than light travel when the Devourers found them, 3 billion souls, gone in a matter of days. Dr. Chen was taking rapid notes on his tablet. How do you know all this? Were you there? The Valdorian Collective has existed for over 10,000 years, Kekstar explained. We have perfected the art of survival in a hostile galaxy. We learned long ago that the only way to protect younger species is through careful preparation and ... shall we say, strategic intervention. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. You're offering to protect us. We are offering to share our knowledge, Velinara corrected gently. The Devourers are attracted to certain technological signatures, specific energy frequencies that young civilizations inevitably discover. By modifying your technology, adjusting your expansion patterns, and implementing proper stealth protocols, we can help you avoid their attention. For a price, of course, Wendell added, his electronic voice carrying what might have been amusement. The Valdorian Collective does not provide such services freely. We have found that species value most what they must pay for. Kekstar shot his companion a sharp look before turning back to Elena. The cost is quite reasonable. We would require access to certain rare minerals found only on your world. Elements that are common to you, but extraordinarily valuable to galactic civilization. Additionally, we would need samples of your biological diversity and copies of your cultural achievements for our archives. What kind of cultural achievements? Dr. Chen asked. Art, music, literature, historical records, Velinara explained. The galaxy has lost so much knowledge to the Devourers. We preserve what we can, ensuring that even if a species falls, something of their essence survives. Elena found herself nodding slowly. On the surface, it seemed like a reasonable request. Earth's biological diversity was incredible, and sharing their culture with advanced aliens could only benefit humanity in the long run. The minerals they wanted, rare Earth elements, were valuable, but not irreplaceable. How long do we have to decide? Elena asked. The Devourers operate on cycles, Kekstar replied, calling up another hologram that showed a timeline marked with red events. According to our calculations, the next awakening cycle will begin within the next few solar rotations of your planet. Perhaps 18 of your months, perhaps less. 18 months, Elena repeated, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. And if we refuse your offer? The three Valdorians exchanged meaningful glances. Then your species will face the Devourers alone, Kekstar said simply, as so many others have done. We have learned not to interfere with the choices of sovereign species, even when those choices lead to extinction. Dr. Chen had been studying his tablet throughout the conversation, occasionally looking up at the holographic displays. Now he cleared his throat. I have some questions about the technical aspects of your protection protocols. The energy signatures you mentioned, could you provide more specific data about the frequencies involved? Quindle tilted his head, A gesture that seemed almost avian. Such information is highly classified, I'm afraid. Trade secrets of the collective. We could share it only after formal agreements have been signed and initial payments made. Of course, Dr. Chen said, making another note. And the footage of the devourers, what kind of sensors recorded that? The visual quality suggests some very advanced detection equipment. Standard collective reconnaissance technology, Velinara replied smoothly. Far beyond your current capabilities, but perhaps we could include some sensor upgrades as part of our protection package. Elena noticed that Dr. Chen's questions were becoming more technical, more pointed. She had worked with him long enough to recognize when his scientific skepticism was engaging. Dr. Chen, is there something specific you'd like to know? Just trying to understand the full scope of what we're dealing with, he replied. Captain, might I suggest we take a brief recess to discuss this privately? Kekstar rose gracefully from his chair. Of course. This is a momentous decision for your species. We will wait in the diplomatic quarters you've prepared for us. But please do not delay too long. Every day that passes brings the next devourer cycle closer. After the Valdorians left, Elena turned to Dr. Chen. What's bothering you, James? Several things, he replied, pulling up displays on his tablet. First, their translation technology is too perfect. Not just the words, but the cultural context. The emotional undertones, it's as if they've been studying human communication for years, not days. Maybe they're just more advanced than we thought. Maybe. But there's something else. He showed her a series of spectral analyses. I've been running background scans on their ship, their technology, even the holographic projections. The energy signatures are remarkably similar to some theoretical models our physicists developed last year. Elena frowned. You think they're using human technology? I think they're using technology that's not nearly as advanced as they want us to believe. Captain, this whole setup feels rehearsed. The dramatic entrance, the perfectly timed revelations, the urgent deadline, it's like they're following a script. A script for what? Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment, staring at the data on his tablet. I don't know yet. But I'd like permission to run some discrete investigations before we give them an answer. If these devourers are real, if the threat is genuine, then we need to know everything we can about them. And if something else is going on, then we need to know that too. Elena finished. Permission granted, Doctor. How long do you need? Give me a week? Maybe 2? I want to cross-reference their data with our own astronomical surveys. Run some deep space scans. Maybe even send out a few probe missions to verify their claims. Elena nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and apprehension. Do it, but be discreet. If they are genuine, we don't want to insult potential allies. And if they're not, then we need to find out what they really want, Dr. Chen said, grimly as Elena watched him leave. She found herself staring out at the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, if the Valdorians were telling the truth, ancient horrors waited to devour her world. But something in Dr. Chen's analysis had awakened her own skepticism. The offer seemed too convenient, too perfectly timed. She activated her communication console and sent a priority message to Earth Command. They would need to prepare for multiple possibilities, including the chance that humanity's first contact with aliens was actually humanity's first contact with interstellar con artists. The next few weeks would determine not just Earth's future, but humanity's place in a galaxy that might be far more dangerous or far more deceptive than anyone had imagined. The investigation, DR. James Chen hadn't slept properly in 6 days. The laboratory aboard Luna Station had become his second home, filled with holographic displays, sensor readings, and astronomical data that painted an increasingly troubling picture. Every analysis he ran raised new questions about the Valdorian claims, and every question led to more disturbing possibilities. Computer, display stellar cartography data for sectors 7 through 12, he commanded, rubbing his tired eyes. The main holographic projector came to life, showing a 3-dimensional Map of nearby star systems. Red markers indicated the locations where the Valdorians claimed extinct civilizations had once thrived. Sarah Walsh entered the lab, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Any luck, Doctor?" "Define luck," James replied, accepting the coffee. Gratefully. "If you mean, have I found evidence that supports the Valdorian claims? Then no. If you mean, have I found evidence that something is very wrong with their story? Then absolutely." Sarah moved closer to the holographic display. "What kind of evidence?" James manipulated the star map, zooming in on one of the red markers. "This system here, the Valdorians claim it was home to a species called the Mortani, destroyed by Devourers 300 years ago. According to their records, it was a thriving civilization with multiple colony worlds. But when I cross-referenced their data with our own deep space observations, I found something interesting." He switched the display to show spectral analysis data. "This star system shows no signs of ever having supported industrial civilization. No residual radiation signatures, no orbital debris, no artificial structures, nothing that would indicate advanced life ever existed there." Sarah frowned. "Maybe the Devourers were really thorough." "That's what I thought initially. So I started checking other systems. The display shifted to show multiple star charts. Same pattern everywhere. The Valdorians claim these were all thriving civilizations, but our sensors show no evidence of advanced life having ever existed in any of these locations." "Could our sensors be missing something?" James shook his head. "I thought of that too." So, one authorized the launch of several deep space probes with high-resolution scanners that could detect even microscopic traces of artificial materials. The results came back yesterday. He pulled up a new set of data. Not only are there no signs of extinct civilizations in these systems, but some of them show clear evidence of having been uninhabitable for millions of years. Dead stars, radiation fields, asteroid belts where planets should be. These systems couldn't have supported life in the time frames the Valdorians specified. Sarah set down her coffee cup. "So they're lying about the extinct civilizations?" "That's just the beginning." James called up another display. "Remember the footage they showed us of the Devourers attacking the Crenary homeworld? I've been analyzing that too." The holographic display showed the terrifying footage from the Valdorian presentation, dark, writhing shapes descending upon a blue-green world. But now the image was overlaid with technical analysis data. "The first thing I noticed was the visual quality," James explained. "This footage is supposedly from an ancient archive, recorded during an emergency evacuation. But look at the resolution, the clarity, the perfect camera angles. This was recorded with equipment that's more advanced than anything we have, but also more advanced than anything a species under attack would likely have had time to deploy. Maybe the Valdorians recorded it themselves? That's what I thought. Too, but then I noticed something else." He highlighted specific sections of the footage. "These Devourers, watch how they move, how they interact with matter. The physics are all wrong." Sarah leaned closer, studying the highlighted sections. "Wrong how?" "They're supposed to be creatures that exist partially outside normal space, right? But their interactions with solid matter follow standard gravitational and electromagnetic principles. If they really existed partially outside our dimension, the physics would look completely different." James switched to a new analysis. "But here's the really interesting part. I ran the footage through our best artificial intelligence algorithms, the ones we use to detect computer-generated imagery. Guess what they found? It's fake. Not just fake, it's a composite. Multiple different video sources edited together with computer-generated elements. Some of the base footage appears to be from real space battles, but the Devourers themselves are entirely artificial constructs." Sarah sat down heavily in a nearby chair. "So the whole thing is a lie. It gets worse." James activated another display. I started digging deeper into the Valdorians themselves. Their technology, their ship design, their energy signatures, everything they've shown us. The display showed a detailed scan of the Valdorian vessel. Their ship is impressive. Certainly more advanced than anything we've built, but it's not nearly as advanced as they want us to believe. The energy patterns, the construction materials, the design principles, they're all within the realm of what a civilization only a few hundred years ahead of us might develop. But they claim to be 10,000 years old. Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. James pulled up communication logs. I've been monitoring their private communications, the signals between their ship and other vessels in their fleet. Sarah raised an eyebrow. They have a fleet? 3 ships, holding position just outside our solar system. They think they're beyond our sensor range, but our new deep space arrays can detect them. And the communications between those ships tell a very different story than what they've been telling us. He activated an audio file. The voices were clearly Valdorian, but the translation was fragmented. Phase 3 protocols, active target species showing expected resistance patterns, recommend. Accelerated timeline. That doesn't sound like humanitarian protection services, Sarah observed. No, it doesn't, and there's more. James switched to another communication intercept. Mineral surveys confirm target world has extensive rare element deposits, cultural preservation. Excuse holding as expected initiate phase 4, once agreement signed. Sarah stood up, pacing across. The lab? They're not here to protect us. They're here to rob us. That's what it looks like. The whole devourer threat appears to be an elaborate fiction designed to make us grateful for their protection, while they systematically strip our world of valuable resources and cultural artifacts. But why the elaborate deception? If they're more advanced than us, why not just take what they want? James had been wondering the same thing. I think it's because they're not actually much more advanced than us. Their technology is better, yes, but not overwhelmingly so. They can't just conquer us outright, so they're using psychological manipulation. Instead, a protection racket. Exactly. They create a fictional threat, offer to protect us from it, and we pay them to go away. Classic con game, just on an interstellar scale. Sarah moved back to the holographic display, studying the star. Charts. Doctor, if you're right about this, we need to inform Captain Rodriguez immediately. Already done, James replied. I sent her a preliminary report this morning. She's meeting with Earth Command to discuss our options. What kind of options? James was quiet for a moment, considering the implications of what they'd discovered. Well, we could simply refuse their offer and tell them we've seen through their deception. But that might lead to them escalating to more aggressive tactics. Or we could play along, make them think we're falling for their scam, while we prepare a more decisive response. Sarah looked at him sharply. What kind of decisive response? Before James could answer, his communication console chimed with an incoming priority message. Captain Rodriguez's face appeared on the screen, and her expression was grim. Dr. Chen, please report to Conference Room Alpha immediately. Bring all your analysis data. We have some decisions to make. On my way, Captain, James replied, and turned to Sarah. I think we're about to find out just how decisive humanity can be when someone tries to scam us. As they gathered the data files and headed for the conference room, James couldn't help but wonder what the Valdorians would think when they discovered that their carefully chosen marks had not only seen through their deception, but were preparing to turn the tables on them entirely. The next phase of first contact was about to begin, and this time, humanity would be setting the terms. The revelation. Conference room aboard Luna Station had been hastily converted into a command center. Admiral Patricia Hayes, the highest-ranking military officer in the Sol system, sat at the head of the table, surrounded by holographic displays showing fleet positions, tactical analyses, and communication intercepts. Captain Elena Rodriguez took her seat beside Dr. James Chen, both of them still processing the revelations of the past week. Let me make sure I understand the situation correctly. Admiral Hayes began, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to making life or death decisions. We have 3 alien vessels in our solar system, operating under false pretenses, attempting to defraud humanity of valuable resources while claiming to protect us from a fictional threat. That's correct, Admiral, Dr. Chen confirmed. Every piece of evidence they've provided has been fabricated or manipulated. The Devourers don't exist. The extinct civilizations they claim to be memorializing never existed, and their own technology isn't nearly as advanced as they want us to believe. Elena looked at the tactical displays showing the positions of the Valdorian ships. What's our current defensive posture, Admiral? Better than they think, Hayes replied, with a slight smile. While Dr. Chen was investigating their claims, I was running some investigations of my own. It turns out the Valdorians have significantly underestimated human capability. She activated a new display showing the locations of various human installations throughout the solar system. They believe we're a single-planet species that's barely achieved space travel. They have no idea about our asteroid mining operations, our military installations on Mars and the outer moons, or our deep space monitoring networks. Dr. Chen leaned forward. You mean they don't know about the defense grid? They have no clue. Hayes confirmed. Project Aegis has been classified at the highest levels. As far as the Valdorians know, Luna Station is our most advanced installation. They're completely unaware that we've spent the last 15 years building a comprehensive defense network throughout the solar system. Elena felt a surge of hope mixed with apprehension. Project Aegis had been humanity's response to the theoretical possibility of hostile first contact, a network of automated defense platforms, hidden military bases, and advanced weaponry designed to protect Earth from exactly this kind of threat. What about their ships? Elena asked. Dr. Chen said their technology isn't as advanced as they claim, but they're still ahead of us, right? Admiral Hayes smiled grimly. That's where things get interesting. Dr. Chen's analysis was correct. Their technology is only a few hundred years ahead of ours, not millennia. But there's something else they don't know about us. She activated another display, this one showing a series of technical specifications that made Elena's eyes widen. Captain, you remember the Kepler incident from 12 years ago? Elena nodded. The first confirmed detection of an alien probe in our solar system. What most people don't know is that the probe didn't just scan us and leave. It crashed on Europa, and we recovered it. 12 years of reverse engineering alien technology has given us some very interesting capabilities. Dr. Chen was studying the technical readouts with obvious excitement. Are you saying we've already incorporated alien technology into our defense systems? More than that, Hayes replied. We've improved on it. Human engineering tends to be more robust, more adaptable than what we found in that probe. We've taken their concepts and made them better. The conference room's main screen activated, showing a communication request from the Valdorian ship. Kekstar's face appeared, his large dark eyes reflecting what Elena now recognized as impatience rather than ancient wisdom. Captain Rodriguez, he said, his musical voice carrying an undertone of urgency. We have been waiting for your decision for over a week. The Devourer threat grows more imminent with each passing day. Surely your species' survival is worth more consideration than this. Elena looked at Admiral Hayes, who nodded slightly. It was time to reveal their hand. High Merchant Kekstar, Elena replied, her voice steady and professional. We've given your offer very careful consideration. In fact, we've conducted some independent research into the threats you've described. Kekstar's expression shifted slightly, though the alien features made it difficult to read. Independent research? Captain, your species lacks the technology to verify threats of this magnitude. Do we? Dr. Chen interjected, moving into view of the camera. Because our analysis of your evidence has revealed some interesting discrepancies. He activated a display that showed the spectral analysis of the supposedly extinct star systems. For example, these star systems you claim were destroyed by Devourers. Our deep space surveys show no evidence that advanced civilization ever existed in any of them. Elena watched as Kekstar's expression shifted from confusion to something that might have been alarm. Behind him, she could see the other two Valdorians moving closer to their own control panels. Your technology is primitive, Belinar interjected. You lack the sensitivity to detect subtle traces left by devourer attacks. Actually, Doctor, Chen continued calmly, our technology is quite capable of detecting the kind of residual traces that would remain from the destruction you described. But more importantly, we've also analyzed the footage you showed us of the devourers themselves. He activated another display, showing the technical breakdown of the fabricated video. Computer-generated imagery, composite footage from multiple sources, physics that don't match the supposed nature of the creatures involved. In short, completely fake. The silence from the Valdorian ship stretched for several long seconds. Then Kextar's expression hardened into something far less benevolent than his previous demeanor. He dared to question the archives of the Valdorian Collective, he demanded. We have protected dozens of species from threats they were too primitive to understand or detect. Protected them from what? Elena asked pointedly. Because we've also intercepted some of your private communications? She activated the audio files that Dr. Chen had recorded. The Valdorian voices discussing target species, mineral surveys, and phase protocols filled the conference room. Elena watched as all three aliens became very still. It seems, Elena continued, that the only threat young civilizations need protection from is the Valdorian Collective itself. Kextar's musical voice turned harsh. You have made a grave error, Captain Rodriguez. The Collective has been generous in its offer, but that generosity has limits. Are you threatening us? Admiral Hayes interjected, moving into view of the camera. Because if you are, I should inform you that you've significantly underestimated the species you're trying to scam. Scam? Quindal spoke for the first time during the conversation, his electronic voice carrying what Elena now realized was poorly concealed contempt. You are a single-planet species that has barely achieved rudimentary space travel. You have no colonies, no fleet, no defenses beyond your primitive orbital installations. Admiral Hayes smiled, and Elena had seen that expression before. Usually right before the Admiral revealed that she held all the cards in a seemingly impossible situation. Computer, activate display protocol Omega, Hayes commanded. The main screen split into multiple views, showing locations throughout the solar system that the Valdorians had never suspected existed. Military bases on Mars, asteroid mining operations, converted to weapons platforms, hidden installations on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and finally the massive orbital defense grid surrounding Earth itself. Single planet? Hayes asked conversationally. We've been a multi-world civilization for over a century. No fleet? What do you think those installations are protecting? She activated another display, showing sleek human warships emerging from concealed positions throughout the solar system. The vessels were clearly human in design, but incorporated technology that made Kextar's eyes widen in recognition. No defenses, Hayes continued. We've been preparing for the possibility of hostile first contact for decades. And thanks to some previous alien visitors who weren't quite as careful as they thought they were. We've had 12 years to study and improve on galactic standard technology. The Valdorian delegation was clearly shaken now. Velinara was speaking, rapidly in their own language to someone off-screen, while Quindal was frantically working at what Elena assumed were sensor controls. This is impossible, Kextar finally said. Our survey showed no signs of this level of development. Your survey showed what we wanted them to show, Dr. Chen replied. We've been aware of your presence since you entered our solar system. Did you really think we would conduct first contact negotiations without taking precautions? Elena leaned forward, deciding it was time to end this charade entirely. Hi, Merchant Kextar, here's what's going to happen. You and your ships are going to leave our solar system immediately. You're going to return any materials you've stolen from other species using this protection racket. And you're going to send a message to your collective explaining that humanity is under new management. New management? Kextar's voice had lost all its musical quality. Ours, Admiral Hayes said, firmly. It seems there's a real problem in this part of the galaxy species, like yours preying on emerging civilizations. Humanity is going to do something about that. Elena stood up, feeling the weight of responsibility and opportunity settling on her shoulders. Any species that needs real protection from actual threats can contact us. We'll be establishing a genuine defense alliance, not a glorified extortion scheme. She paused, looking directly at Kekstar through the communication link. As for the Valdorian Collective, you have exactly 1 hour to clear our space. If you're still here after that, you'll discover just how effective human defensive capabilities really are. You cannot threaten a collective, Kekstar blustered, but Elena could hear the fear in his voice now. We have connections throughout the galaxy, allies, trade partnerships, built on fraud and intimidation, Dr. Chen pointed out. I suspect most of your allies will be very interested to learn the truth about your operations. Admiral Hayes nodded to someone off camera, and the tactical display updated to show human ships moving into intercept positions around the Valdorian vessels. 59 minutes and counting, High Merchant. The communication link went dead as the Valdorians cut the connection. Elena watched through the observation ports as the alien ships began moving away from Luna Station with what could only be described as unseemly haste. Think they'll be back? Dr. Chen asked. Not if they're smart, Admiral Hayes replied. And if they're not smart, well, that's what the defense grid is for. Elena looked out at the stars, thinking about the implications of what had just happened. Humanity's first contact with alien life had been with con artists and fraudsters. But they had turned it into something positive. The galaxy apparently needed someone to provide real protection to emerging species. And humanity had just volunteered for the job. Dr. Chen, she said finally, I think you'd better start working on a new first contact protocol. Something tells me we're going to be meeting a lot more species in the near future. Already on it, Captain, he replied with a grin. Though I suspect our next encounters are going to be quite different from this one. As the Valdorian ships disappeared into the void, Elena allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The galaxy's first encounter with human diplomacy had been a lesson in what happened when someone tried to take advantage of the new kids on the block. It was a lesson that would spread quickly through galactic civilization, along with a new understanding that Earth was no longer a backwater planet ripe for exploitation. Humanity had announced its presence in the galaxy not as victims or marks, but as the new sheriffs in town. And the galaxy would never be quite the same again.